I would like to acknowledge the Wurundjeri people of the Kulin Nation, who are the traditional custodians of the land on which I stand. I would like to extend that acknowledgement to any Aboriginals and Torres Strait Islanders who may be watching, and to their elders past, present and emerging. Sovereignty was never ceded. It always was and always will be Aboriginal land. My name is Miss Cairo, and welcome to the first edition of Conversations with Miss Cairo. I am a light brown skinned woman with a medium brown afro. I am sitting on a beige sofa with a white wall behind me, and there's a little bit of sunlight cascading onto the wall. There is a teapot in front of me, which is white with little pink roses on it, and there is a green and white striped cup and saucer in front of me. So, before we begin this journey, I would like to share a moment of rest and relaxation. I would love for you to join in taking in a deep breath. So we're going to hold it for 5 and then breathe out for 5. So I'll count and you can join in. So in. Hold. And out. Do it again. In. Hold. And out. And once more. And out. I find that sometimes we forget to breathe amongst all of this chaos. Today might be a hard day for a lot of us Victorians as we prepare to hear the news of our current lockdown situation. We've already done such a fantastic job so far, and we should take a moment to celebrate how responsible, kind and caring we've been for each other by staying home, wearing our masks and keeping each other strong. Whatever the outcome is this afternoon, we will be okay. This is just temporary. I would like to check in with you all about my current mental health state. So in the last week, I have seen myself and some other amazing cabaret artists create a new organisation called the People of Cabaret, which will be a mentorship programme, a directory and a council for the cabaret industry. I'm not going to go into too much detail, but you can check that out online. But it's been very exciting and exhausting and exhilarating. And the last week, I've managed to have some time off and be a lot more gentle on myself. I've been practicing self-care. I've been having some baths. I had a cheese and fruit night on my own, which was really beautiful. But one of the most prevalent things that have been happening for me in this last week was the feelings and emotions of anger. Now, I think we're all a bit scared of anger. I think we're all a bit scared of what we can do sometimes. As an activist, that's always been an emotion that I've had to deal with, being angry and frustrated at systems which oppress marginalised folk. And speaking out against these systems can be really exhausting. I've had a few instances this week where I have felt voiceless, I have felt unheard, and it's resulted in the trauma of anger coming back out. See, I thought I have done a lot of work on myself with therapy, with self-kindness, with affirmations, but that little emotion still wants to creep in now and again. And I want to say that it's absolutely okay to be angry. It really is. But you have to maintain responsibility and accountability for that anger. So you can be angry and you can sit with that and you can be frustrated, but you can't take it out on anyone else. You have to be responsible about that. I think the key thing about anger that we often forget about is that anger comes from frustration. We're frustrated because we don't know what to do in a situation. We're frustrated because we don't know how to react. So it's important that we sit with it and find out where that's coming from. So we're probably going to be a bit angry today when if we find out that we're going to be in lockdown for a little bit longer. But reframe that and refocus that into the amazing outcome that it's going to produce. It's going to make sure that our fellow Victorians are safe. So sit with the anger. Don't go and protest. And just remember what you're doing is incredible and important. So moving on, I would love to introduce our first guest. Before I do, I would like to point out that you can comment, and I will see all the comments, and if you've got any questions to ask myself or our fabulous guest today, ask away, and I will make sure that I bring that to the table. So my first guest on Conversations with Miss Cairo is Will Centurion, who is a qualified mental health practitioner who is passionate about providing creative minds the counselling and life coaching resources needed to help reach their full potential. As an actor and dancer, his international and Australian credits include So You Think You Can Dance, 2010, West Side Story, A Chorus Line, The King and I, The Lion King, Aladdin, and In the Heights. Since graduating from the Australian College of Applied Psychology, Will now advocates for the importance of mental health in the performing arts sector, creating conversations to help reduce stigma and helping performers to have fulfilling lives, both on and off stage. So normally when I'm hosting, I ask the audience to whoop, holler and cheer, but we're all sitting in the comfort of our own homes or in our living rooms or our kitchens or our balconies. So feel free to whoop and holler and cheer as we introduce our first guest, Will Centurion.
Hello, Miss Cairo.
Hello, how are you? How are you on this beautiful Sunday morning?
I'm wonderful. I'm super excited to be here. Thank you so much for having me on as a special guest for episode 1 of this fantastic initiative. And I can't wait to share this time with you and just to have a lovely chat.
Yay! Well, do you have a cup of tea or coffee handy just so we can have a little powwow?
I've got a glass of water. So hydration is important.
Stay hydrated. I love it. So, do you want to tell us a little bit about yourself and what you do? I know I've given you a great introduction already, but yeah, if there's anything that you want to bring to the table.
Mm-hmm. So I worked as a music theatre performer for 20 years, both here in Australia and internationally as well. Towards the end of my professional career, I started to experience a lot of mental health challenges. So I had issues with depression and anxiety and imposter syndrome. So as a result of that, I sought out therapeutic support, and I met a lovely psychologist who was also an opera singer. And that was a big light bulb moment for me because it felt as though I was going to be truly understood for the first time. So throughout our conversations, we started talking about what other areas of my life I wanted to explore that might bring me some form of happiness. And we discovered that I was curious about social work or psychology or counselling. And that conversation led to me enrolling in a diploma of counselling. I loved that so much that then I went on to the Bachelor of Counselling Coaching. And then I graduated from ACAP and I moved to Melbourne and I started my own mental health service that focuses on actors, singers and dancers.
Oh my God, that's so good and so integral to what we do. I think we always forget about the mental health needs of actors and ourselves. What we do is really emotionally driven work. And I think we don't realise what a resource that is. And I think we're very quick to kind of give that away so quickly. How have you found, kind of replenishing your resources? Like what tools have you been using to kind of counteract that mental exhaustion?
For me, the modalities that work great for me are narrative therapy, a little bit of CBT. I love ACT, acceptance and commitment therapy. I'm all about, working with others acknowledging that they're there, trying to re-author them, trying to work around them rather than power through them. It's interesting, like in a lot of the work that I do, I find it's sort of a bit of a two-handed gift. It's I'm supporting people, but at the same time I'm learning and supporting myself as well. So, I really can't tell you how important having mental health skills and psychological tools and resources are for just a healthier way of living.
Oh my God, that's so good. Oh, because well, I'm going to bring this up because like we've already had a little pre-chat just to say that everything's out in the open.
Yeah.
You identify as a person of color yourself. Your background is Latin American and is it Italian?
Uruguayan.
Uruguay. Oh my God, I should have had my notes in front of me. Yeah, how have you found navigating the industry? I'm going straight in.
Yeah.
How have you been finding kind of like navigating the industry as a person of color, and also having to deal with your mental health within that as well?
So if we're talking about my personal experience, I had a pretty good run as a performer. So I worked consistently for 20 years. I was able to do some incredible shows, some incredible multicultural shows. So I was in The King and I was in West Side Story, in Aladdin, in The Heights. These are all people of color shows. And I was incredibly fortunate to be a part of those productions because there was something about them that I could connect with. Culturally, I could connect with them. There's just some of those values were about family and love and community, and so I really resonated in those shows. So I had a pretty good run as a swing, as an ensemble member, as an understudy. I even got to play a principal role in The Lion King. Personally, I never felt a lot of pushback because of the color of my skin or because of my ethnicity. I think I experienced a lot of mental health challenges because of my homosexuality. Particularly, being gay in a Latin American family and in a Roman Catholic family, that created a lot of unhelpful stories for me. So I think my biggest pushbacks and my biggest challenges were more around my sexuality rather than my ethnicity.
And was that in the industry, or was that just kind of like from a personal perspective?
It was I think they were personal challenges. I think I had developed some stories that I held to be true about myself that weren't true. And, that ended up creating a lot of self-doubt. It ended up creating a lot of imposter syndrome. It made me feel sort of less than. And so there was a lot of personal struggle rather than industry struggle. And that I needed to sort of work through in order to be able to shine bright and be my fullest.
Did you find there was a lot of support in the industry for dealing with that? Because obviously musical theatre is very accepting of or everyone on the spectrum of queerness and sexuality. But did you find that you had space to kind of talk about some of these things with other cast members and production members, etc.?
I think in that environment, in the performing arts community, is where I felt the most comfortable. So as a gay man, I always felt supported. I always felt included. I felt equal to. Where I didn't feel supported was with regards to mental health. So I didn't feel at any time that anybody helped me or led me to the right pathway to get connected to help, to get connected to support. It was a really lonely journey, and I didn't have the tools and the resources to be able to manage all of the stuff that I was going through. And because there's a lot of stigma around that in our industry, and because, we put on a happy face and we get out there and we perform and, we live the dream life, nobody really wanted to talk about how we deal with struggles behind all of that. So therefore, nobody wanted to talk about what kind of support services were available for anybody who needed it. And that for me was the biggest disconnection. And that for me made the journey so much harder.
I think it's really important to kind of like hear those stories where, you know, being someone who is marginalized actually is kind of celebrated for that and has great experiences, because I think there's so much trauma in being a marginalized person, and that we're expected to have this particular narrative. But it's interesting to know that like your mental health needs haven't been met. And it's, we've discussed this privately, but like, you know, you've got Maslow's hierarchy of needs. And it feels like sometimes we go in at the height of what the problems is with identity, with this, with money, when actually we need to really be looking at what the problems are. And I think that that's such a big thing in all of the performing arts sector. I think there's a lot of times where we try and fix it with a band-aid as opposed to really going into the root of it. And, you know, especially the work that you're doing, you know, and I've said this before and I'll keep saying it, is integral to our industry. And it, you know, and it's not just our industry that mental health is so important. It's the, you know, the base needs of everyone. And I think where we're at in society now, we've moved past that therapy is scary and therapy is sitting on a couch in a stuffy, smoky office. Like, therapy is cool.
It's what we're doing right now. It's just therapeutic. You know, a conversation between two people where there's no judgment, where, you know, there's empathy and transparency and you know, unconditional positive regard. This is what therapy is. You know, it's no different. So yeah, I guess, you know, demystifying what that process is and just helping to normalize the fact that therapy is something that we can all do and we should all do to some degree, you know, and how helpful these conversations can be is a really important message to get out there.
I think this, like, I'm gonna go real about this. Like, I'm having massive imposter syndrome right now. Like, this is such a new venture for me. And you know, for full disclosure, you and I had such a deep conversation in about 20 minutes a couple of days ago, because we, like, you know, for me, I felt so comfortable that we could really be ourselves and not have to worry about our public persona. But it's so frightening to kind of put yourself in these roles and these positions, because it's a lot of responsibility. Like, you know, I'm already thinking about, oh my God, don't say this, don't say that, don't do that. And then, you know, battling with, you know, the feelings of self-worth, the feeling of self-esteem. And that's something that I struggled massively in my career. And it was probably only until this year that I discovered and, you know, and recognized that it was the imposter syndrome that was holding me back. And it's specifically these conversations that I've had with people that have helped me move forward past that. And it's so important to air that dirty laundry. So, like, how have you kind of overcome imposter syndrome, if you have at all?
I'll be honest with you, I'm terrified most of the time. You know, this is terrifying for you. This is terrifying for me too. It's, you know, difficult to stand and represent, have a voice for a community or a theme or a topic. To want to do that from a place of wisdom, a well-informed place, a lived experience place. It's terrifying. I think, you know, every time I meet with a client, I'm just as vulnerable as they are. Every time I stand up and I deliver a workshop or a conference or a seminar, I'm just as vulnerable as the people that are watching me. My personality, I don't think I'll ever get to a place where, you know, I'm that kind of 100% confident about what I'm doing. You know, I'm vulnerable and I lead with vulnerability, and that's a part of my strength. And, you know, that's who I am, and that's me being congruent and being authentic. And so, you know, I don't need to stand in front of anyone and say I'm 100% certain of what I'm doing and saying all of the time, because I'm not.
There's such a pressure of being like particular identities. to be the spokesperson, and it's so draining. Like, I've done a lot of activism in my time, and I was finding that I was becoming a bit of a go-to person. I was like, I don't know what the hell I'm talking about half the time. Like,
Yeah.
this is just my experience, and it's such a exhausting thing, and especially being marginalized folk are, we're in the minority. We're called a minority for the reason, for a reason. We're not in the majority, so there is such a big expectation that we have to bear the load of it, and in turn that really affects our mental health. And it's something that I'm kind of really big on about emotional labor, that we don't realize that actually like emotional labor is a resource. It's something that takes it, when your emotional resources are being taken away from you, it also means that they're taking something else from you as well. It be your time, your energy, your knowledge. And I think with, especially with acting and dancing and singing, like, we are expected to give so much of ourselves constantly. So yeah, like what advice could you give for anyone who is struggling navigating finding their self-worth in what their emotional integrity and emotional labor is?
I'm so glad you mentioned what you just did. It's difficult to have a voice. It's difficult to represent a community. It's difficult to stand for something. It's difficult to just advocate. And a piece of advice is something that I actually learned through the workshop, the self-care workshop that I delivered the other day that you participated in. It was a really good reminder for me the importance of de-rolling. Of like, you've got to step away from all of that, and you've got to just be you for a while. You've got to give yourself permission to just be the person, not the activist, not the mental health practitioner, not the actor, singer, dancer, not the mother, not the father, not the family member, or whatever that might be. It's important to just be you, to give yourself space to just be you, and de-roll and be a muggle. it's healthy for all of us.
Disengaging is the key. I think that's something that we don't always give thought to.
And in doing that, then you get to just sit with yourself. You get to appreciate who you are as a person without all of the other stuff, and that's where you build self-worth. That's where you discover your true value, when you're just you and you realize that in that you are more than enough.
And that's where we can start sharing stories freely without that exploitation. Oh my God. Well, I think we're coming to the end of our time, which I feel like we need to have like 3 hours for this conversation. But I think you and I are going to have a little private chinwag after, which might be available for our VIP members later on in the future. But is there anything that you would like to plug? We've got your website down below. Do you have anything coming up that we should know about?
I guess my message to everybody would be, if you are feeling vulnerable, if you're feeling like you're needing support, if you're feeling like you would like to talk to somebody, just use the art of asking. Whether you reach out to myself, whether you engage in one of my counseling or life coaching services, or you come along to one of the seminars or group workshops, just someone's out there for you. Someone will meet you where you're at. Someone will listen. Someone will understand. So look after yourself, particularly at a time like this. And I hope that our paths cross again. I'm here if you need me. But I wish everyone that's watching or tuning in all the best for the remainder of 2020.
Oh my God, you're so beautiful, Will. Stop it. Well, as it said down below, you can have a look on Will's website, hire him, and follow him on all the socials. Thank you so much for your time today, your energy, your knowledge, your experience. I really appreciate it, and thank you for being my first guest on this new venture.
Thank you so much for having me. It was an absolute pleasure.
Have a lovely day. Take care. Oh my God, he's so beautiful. Oh my God, that was really exciting and really lovely. And I wish it could go on for longer. So we're going to be having a little private chat later, which might be available for other people to view. But I'm always terrible at finishing things. That's always been a problem of mine. So I'm gonna wrap things up. So so I'm so grateful to share this platform with him today, because the work he's doing is integral to the progression of our industry's development, resilience, and stability. It's wonderful to celebrate the work that he's doing, because it often goes underappreciated. So please follow him on all of his socials. And before we go today, I would first like to thank you all for joining me. It feels wonderful being supported by others, and it's an honour that I get to share this part of my journey with you all. And to say thank you, I would like to offer you all something in return. So, to encourage you to all check in with your self-care this week, I want you to take a photo of or write something with the hashtag IGiveMyself. And I want you to tell me what you have given yourself this week. So it could be a nice bubble bath. It could be a nice meal that you cooked. It could be a fallen leaf on the ground that you saw on your walk, your government-sanctioned hour-long walk. Or it could be the light cascading through the window, which is gone now. So yeah, take a picture. Write a little status. Make sure you use the hashtag IGiveMyself. And tag me as well in @Pretty Miss Cairo. And next week, when you tune in, I will announce someone who's posted something that has brought me joy. I don't believe in self-care as a competition. You can't self-care the hardest. But I want to acknowledge, the joy that other people bring me as well. So stick around for next week and see who brings me some joy. So I want to thank Melissa and Brandon from Antipodes Theatre Company, who have provided me with this opportunity and this platform. I want to thank Chloe Towan, who created my fabulous graphics, and my boyfriend, Greg Dennis, who took the photo of me, looking like a beautiful little cherub. I also want to thank Will Centurion, my first guest, who was an absolute delight. And I can't wait to have more guests in the future. And I would also like to give myself some thanks, because I think it's really important that we celebrate ourselves in every capacity. I think we're always frightened about our egos and being too narcissistic, but I think it's always important to celebrate your wins. It's so easy to focus on our losses and our deficits, when we need to focus our energy into abundance and seeing about all the amazing things that we do bring into the world. So say it with me right now. And this is going to be hard for some people, so there's no expectation. But if you can, at some point this week, just look in the mirror and say, I love myself, I'm beautiful, I'm kind. I love myself, I'm beautiful, and I am kind. Because you are, and you're beautiful, and you're gorgeous. So thank you so much for joining me today. I look forward to looking through all your statuses and your pictures. Have a wonderful Sunday, and no matter what the news is this afternoon, you've been doing an incredible job. We can continue doing an incredible job saving the lives of other people, and make sure you wear a mask when you're going outside, stay safe, and maintain social distancing, and also go for your government-sanctioned walk. So have a wonderful day, and I will see you soon. Take care. This is where we'll have the outro.